Welcome to the Top Dog Mindset Podcast, where we unlock the secrets of running a successful dog training business. I'm your host, Kevin, joined by my co-host, Angel. Together, we bring you expert insights, inspiring stories, and practical tips. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, we're here to provide you with the necessary information to build a thriving dog training company. So relax, join us with a cup of coffee as we explore the Top Dog Mindset Podcast.
All right, cool. All right, what's up, guys? Back for another episode here. So today we're going to be talking about something that I think can, first off, this term can get thrown around a lot, and I kind of want to unpack it. And that is the idea of work-life balance. And so I think work-life balance can kind of be used as an excuse sometimes for people when they just don't want to work hard. I've seen it used that way. And I've also seen the other end of the spectrum where people legitimately have zero work-life balance. And I've been there at different phases of my career. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today and just talk about how that can kind of manifest in your life and in your business. But Angel, this kind of came up, before when we were kind of talking about what we were going to discuss today. Why don't you talk a little bit about like what you were telling me before and, how you've been kind of making some changes in your life and your techniques as far as scheduling goes, and talk a little bit about that and how that's kind of like helped you as of late.
Yeah, well, I mean, I will start off by saying that, like, obviously everyone experiences needing to find work-life balance, regardless of like the type of work you're in, if you're working from home, if you're bringing work home,
Hmm.
or if you have, the type of job where you leave your home to complete your job and then come back. Like, everyone deals with it in some way, shape, or form. Me, for instance, like, I work from home, and but even when I was training dogs, like, it was the same thing. I always had my work home with me. And I've noticed, and like, I'll get into what we were just talking about too, but like, I've noticed that even now, not having dogs in my home, where I'm basically working 24/7 as a dog
Hmm.
trainer, is like, there are still things that I have to put into place for like my daily schedule to make sure that like I do feel that balance and I'm not adding on like extra unneeded stress and things like that. So whether that is like adjusting how I am handling my scheduling, whether it's, like setting aside a very specific time, and like, this is something that we've talked about as a company too, right? Of like setting aside specific time for just lunch, like
Hmm.
basic necessities, eating lunch, or like taking care of yourself, going to the gym, things like
Hmm.
that. And I think like people can really get lost in that, because when you think of like working from home, like, oh, it's easy. I can, kind of like handle things whenever I want. I can, do like personal things whenever I want, as long as just the work is getting done. But you start doing that and you start to notice like your schedule is all out of whack. And like, me, for example, I do have to have like a very strict schedule for myself. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? Although it is very flexible, I personally have to stick to like a schedule and like otherwise I'm not going to eat. I'm not going to drink water. This is not Kevin's fault, guys. This is totally mine.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. This is like a
I am
very
allowed to eat.
abusive, toxic company you work for here.
No, it's just like I get so in the zone, and then next thing you know, it's like, oh, I'm finished with work. Wait, why do
Yep.
I have a headache? Why do I feel dizzy? I forgot to eat.
I
Um,
feel like I'm gonna vomit.
right? So it's like things like that, or
Yeah.
instead of having a day full of client calls, it's like
Hmm.
I have to dedicate this particular time where, I cannot schedule any client calls because I need to focus on like other, housekeeping type tasks.
Yep.
So like I said, I think everyone deals with it in some way. And that is like something that I've had to realize for myself most recently too, is just kind of like adjusting things for myself to make sure that that like I feel that balance. I'm not feeling overwhelmed. I'm still, able to be there 100% in my personal life, 100% in my work life, and all that
Hmm.
kind of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I think that whether we like to accept it or not, human beings as a whole, and I'm sure there's always the outlier, but more than likely you're not the outlier, thrive off of some sort of schedule and discipline. And I think that this is why you hear about a lot of people coming out of, the military, talking about, trying to like find their way or what am I going to do next or having a hard time kind of getting going or something like that. I've had quite a few guys share that with me. Even people, I've heard people talk about getting out of prison, and you would think like, that is the ultimate form of like gaining back your freedom. But in a way, it's like you're kept on this regimented schedule. And when you get out and you're left to your own devices, like how do you choose to spend your time? And it's very easy in life to just spend your time on things that are a waste of time, frankly. And what you were saying before always makes me think of, I think the most succinct way of saying it is when Jocko Willink said discipline equals freedom. And I think that that's pretty much the entire thing. As much as it feels like I'm more free when I can just do what I want to do on a day-to-day basis, week to week, maybe I work, maybe I take some time to go and, go to the gym for 2.5 hours or go and hang out with friends or whatever it is. It's like, if you're not careful with your time, it'll just get away from you. And you can feel very overworked in life and only be working a few hours a week, which is a really bizarre thing. Because if the time that you're spending in your business is not efficient, and you're not using those couple hours a week that you use to be as effective as possible, you're not going to get anywhere. And if you don't feel like you're making progress, that I think is one of the most key ways to feel burned out. So I think that to your point, giving yourself some structure or routine is going to be the first step in the right direction of feeling like you actually have more balance in your life.
Yeah, and like you said it perfectly.
Thank
It
you. That feels nice to hear.
it it requires so much discipline.
Yeah.
It's one thing to go into let's say like a 9 to 5 job in an office. Like you have
Yeah.
to show up at a certain time. Maybe you guys have like a list of office duties that everyone kind of pitches in for, and they have to be done in the morning, and then like closing duties and
Hmm.
everything in between. So like the schedule is there and it's made for you.
Yep.
Um, but as far as like working from home or, being your own boss or working from home in really any type of field, it does require a lot more discipline.
Yeah.
You have to be like a self-motivator or like a
Hmm.
go-getter because you have to make sure these things are getting done. Even outside of work, you're talking about people getting like going into back into civilian life after getting out of the military or, after being in prison or something like that. Like you're still on like a very strict schedule, however that looks. And then you
Yep.
get out of it, it's completely new and it's completely up to you to reset a new schedule for yourself, even without a
Mm.
job, you know what I mean? Just like waking up at a decent time, making
Hmm.
sure your normal daily duties are getting done and all that kind of stuff. And
Hmm.
just, I think getting yourself into very specific habits is work in and of itself, much
Yeah.
less doing like actual work that is sometimes dreadful. And sometimes, there's days where you're like, I really don't want to do this, or I really don't want to be here, or I really don't want to deal with a bunch of dogs barking and jumping on me, or I really don't want to deal with, whatever it is. But
A
like,
really difficult boss. You can say it. Go right ahead.
you really don't want to deal with Kevin. I'm kidding. But it's like, again, it just takes self-discipline, like really
Yeah.
staying in those habits.
100%. And I think that this is all like easier said than done. Developing habits is a really, really difficult and painful thing, you know?
Hmm.
When you really set your mind to, hey, I want to start getting up at 6 a.m. or I really want to start going to the gym consistently. I really want to eat better, whatever it may be. I really want to find a way to take on this many private training clients or whatever. It's so easy to let yourself off the hook. And that's kind of what you're doing. That's the way at least I look at it to myself. It's like you give yourself a goal and if you have discipline, then you really have to keep yourself honest and hold yourself to that. Because the more you let yourself off the hook and don't do the things you say you're going to do, the more easy it becomes to perpetuate that behavior of breaking promises to yourself. And that's a really bad place to be. Because if you can't even keep a promise to yourself, then you're really not going to be able to keep a promise to somebody else, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, and I used to use I mean, I still do sometimes use this method when I'm trying to like get back into like an old habit that I kind of broke off of.
Hmm.
Obviously, there's so many things you can do, like, setting alarm clocks on your phone, keeping a journal, all that kind of stuff. But I used to keep like a checklist pretty much.
Hmm.
And it was for this one specific habit. Like I'm not really a morning person. Once I'm
Hmm.
up, I'm a morning person. Like I can, have a conversation. I'm not one of those people where it's like, don't talk to me, don't look at me until I've been awake for 2 hours.
Are you like that mom that like has the coffee mug? It's like, don't talk to me until I've had this much coffee.
No, I'm really not that bad. Once I get out
Okay.
of bed, but like
Yeah.
that whole like initial process of
Hmm.
making it happen was
Yeah.
such a struggle for me. And it's like it's something so simple because it was like I just wanted to wake up like 45 minutes earlier than what I was. Not
Yeah.
anything crazy, not like I'm waking up 3 hours early and, running a marathon or anything. Just get out of bed like 45 minutes early. So I started this like checklist thing. And it was just a box for every day. And every day, if I did that, I would check it off. And as cliche as it sounds, when it comes to trying to form most habits, instead of saying like, I'm going to start waking up super early every morning, or I'm going to start working out every day, or I'm going to maybe stop drinking or something like that. There's a
Hmm.
cliche saying of like, just take it one day at a time. And that is the truth because it's not like I'm going to, be a morning person. I'm going to start waking up at this time every day. It's just I'm going to take it one day at a time. So in the morning when my alarm clock goes off, then I tell myself like, okay, today I'm going to wake up early just for the sake of checking it off my list. And then the next
Yeah.
day, okay,
Wow.
today I'm going to wake up early just for the sake of checking it off my list.
Yeah.
But that in itself was a game changer for me and is a game changer for me because it allows me to, wake up 45 minutes before my kids so I can start my morning off in silence and, have my cup of coffee by myself and just kind of like set the tone for my
Yeah.
day instead of like, waking up and I have myself to take care of and kids and dogs and cats and all that kind of stuff. So
Mm.
that little change in my routine has helped a lot, but that's kind of like how I got there with just like, okay, today I'm going to do it. And then again tomorrow, okay, today I'm going to do it. And then eventually it just forms into a habit.
That's really well said. I hope somebody takes something away from that because that is just the God's honest truth of what it's all about when it comes to habit forming is like
Mhm.
one day at a time is such a powerful message, it really is. It's like that's the whole idea of being present in the current moment because as soon as you start looking at things as like I have to have a 30-day streak of waking up at 6 a.m. or 30-day streak of, like you said, not drinking or 30-day streak of going to the gym, whatever it may be, that's extremely daunting, you know?
Yeah.
And it's the cliche of focus on the journey, not the destination. Um, because if you just focus solely on the destination and you're not enjoying the journey, you're focused on the journey, you're just going to get lost along the way and you're going to get burnt out because you feel like that's too far away. So I think that's super helpful. And I mean, that's a piece of advice that I definitely need to take is like, just take it one day at a time and, just be like, hey, I know it's going to be painful to get out of bed this morning, this early, but I'm just doing it today. And then tomorrow
Yeah.
we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. And to kind of like tie that into, the types of clients that we work with who most of the time have dogs in their home. And this goes for even people who aren't doing board and trains. You don't have dogs in your home, but you're still like um kind of like at the mercy of your clients and you don't want to be,
Hmm.
but just like setting limits with that too, like setting aside specific scheduled out time to maybe work on like, office work and getting back to clients. Because I know a lot of the time people struggle with this of like, I'm missing a bunch of phone calls because I'm working with board and trains. And, set aside time where you can get back to all of those missed calls without the interruption of dogs. Or maybe like you know, have them tethered or on place or kind of however you work that out for yourself. But setting aside that specific time, you know, setting aside specific time that you are off, no questions asked. So that way you don't end up with these like major people pleasing tendencies of like, oh, I'm normally off after 7 p.m., but you can only do an 8:30 p.m. lesson. Sure, I'll do it. And then that just like snowballs into working 24/7 or like weird hours just to satisfy your clients' needs. You know, you're a business, you have business hours. The I think the good thing about dog training businesses is most of the time trainers are good about kind of like, you know, moving their schedule around a little bit. But like, you know, Target, you're not going to ask them to stay open until like 2 a.m. when you get off work late. You know what I mean? So I think it's just really important to like keep those boundaries, and that kind of transfers over into that work-life balance.
Yeah, 100%. That's really well said. I think I think that at the end of the day, you need to kind of take the bull by the horns in your life and just kind of decide what you want, but also have some room to be malleable and be a
Mhm.
little bit flexible if you do need to be like, okay, I want to be done at 5, but this person can't get started until 4:15, which means I'm not going to be done until 5:30. I'll do it today, you know, because I want to help this person
Yeah.
out. But yeah, I think more so what you're talking about is just like this incessant thing that creeps up on you where you're always doing it. And then you find yourself not actually working till 5 or 6. And really, most days, and it's more of an anomaly that you're actually done at 5. And most days you're working till 8 or 9 or something like that. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a hard thing to do. I mean, especially, you know, this is something that I've seen for myself over the years is like my computer is in my house. That's what I work from every single day. My messenger is on my phone. If I get a message or something like that, and it's like, okay, I'd like to take care of this right now. So I'll just do it. And it's only going to take me 10 minutes. Again, there's times to do that, I think. But at the end of the day, this is why businesses have work hours, and you can't just blow through that just because you know you're fearful, because that's usually where this stems from, is like there's a fear there attached to it that this client's going to be mad. And if you follow down follow that down the logical track and way of thinking is like they're mad, and then if I don't fix it right now, then it's going to like fester and get even worse overnight or like tomorrow, and then they're going to, you know, ask for a refund or they're going to leave a bad review and stuff like that. And it's like you need to be very careful not to just let your mind go down that really negative path and realize that it's 8 or 9 o'clock at night. This does not need to get solved right now. Nobody's having a heart attack. Like that's the way that it really needs to be viewed, is like no one is going to die from an ad account or something like that, or from a dog barking in its crate when the owner thought it was not going to do that anymore or something like that. It's like that can get addressed tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think like another good way to look at it too is how would you set like the work-life expectations for your employees? Like for those of you who don't have employees on your team and maybe you're just like, you know, um, doing all the training yourself, handling all the admin stuff yourself. If you had a team, how do you think you would set those expectations for them? Like, do you think it would be fair if they are also, you know, having the same work-life balance as you, or I guess lack of? And
Mm-hmm.
we've talked about this before when it comes to, I think, like, um, you know, like systems and policies and things like that. Like, you kind of have to have your stuff together in order to know how you're going to pass that on to like new employees coming in. So it's the same thing, like work-life balance is, I guess, making sure, you know, people are taken care of and they're not expected to work 24/7. Like there's things here and there with a dog, for
Mm-hmm.
instance, like you might get woken up in the middle of the night every so often. It's going to happen, but not necessarily like intentionally let me set my alarm clock for 2:30 a.m. so I can get up and get these sessions done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Wait,
So
Angel, are you talking about like maybe putting major holidays on the calendar so people are like entitled to take those days off? Is that what you're referencing?
no, I'm not referencing that. The total opposite, actually, because there are times where like you're like, hey, did you eat lunch?
Yeah.
No, I didn't. Okay, we'll go eat lunch and then I'll see you at the next meeting kind of thing.
Yeah.
So like you're good about, you know, taking care of our team and like making sure people are taking care of themselves. And But the jobs are still getting done. So I
Yeah.
think that's a big part is like taking care of your team and making sure everyone is healthy personally and professionally, but make sure that like especially if you're a one-man team, you are your team. Like you need to make sure those things, those same
Yeah,
standards are
totally.
being held for
Totally.
yourself.
Yeah, and I'm just kidding around, but you did make me think of that. Like recently, we were on a call and there was a holiday coming up, and this is not a malicious thing, right? Like you start your business and you don't care. You'll work on Columbus Day. You'll work
Mhm.
on the day before Thanksgiving or the day after Thanksgiving, maybe even the morning of Thanksgiving or Christmas Eve or New Year's Day, right? Like I worked New Year's Day this year. Like I like to work. I felt like, okay, this is a good day for me to be able to get a lot of stuff done for ourselves or for myself, and there's not going to be a lot of clients. But that doesn't mean that because you do it, everybody else should be doing it. And so this is why, like this year, as much as I'm joking around about it, like it is serious to me that like we need to have scheduled days off because everyone is entitled to that. And so that's something that I just had, I'm reflecting on because it was a realization I had recently that if you have team members, it's important to realize that like they're not you and they'll work extremely hard for you, but you cannot have the same expectations for the people, same exact, like that's the key word, exact expectations that you have for yourself. You're going to have people that I think are going to be really appreciative of you actually recognizing that and not just assuming that because you're working, they're going to work.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And like with that too, I think like especially, some of the, I guess like I guess they would be considered not major holidays, but still like national
Hmm.
holidays, like Columbus Day. That's not a major holiday, right? But it is a national holiday. So like
Yeah, I think so.
holidays like that where people don't necessarily think of on like a month to month basis or, things
Yeah.
like that. Um, because that's something that like I used to do too,
Yep.
is um I think it's easier for me to recognize is like schools around here. Like my kids are homeschooled now, but when they're in public school, like it's easier to notice when those holidays are coming up
Yeah.
because they're off of school. But I don't pay attention to them because like I'm working every day regardless. And then all of a sudden there's one day like, oh, the kids aren't going to school because it's a holiday. And I'm like, oh, well, shit, I forgot. So I'm working,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, well,
So,
that's exactly right. You, if you run your own business, or in your case, you're working directly with me running the business, it's
mhm,
very easy just to be like, it's just another day, you know?
yeah.
And yeah, I know you're like big on like Earth Day, and like random holidays like that. So we got to make sure
Yeah.
that that's like,
Yeah. So I
yeah.
was so angry working on Earth Day last year. Could have
I
been
remember
worse.
Earth Day like being a thing when I was a kid. That was like a big thing. I don't even know if they have that anymore.
I think they do.
Probably, right? Like, I don't understand why that would go away, but um,
We're still on Earth.
yeah, yeah. Gonna have Mars Day pretty soon if Elon Musk gets his way. But yeah, so just to talk about the reverse side of the coin real quick. So without being too harsh about this, I'm just gonna come right outright and say it. All right, so let me frame it this way. I over the years, being an entrepreneur, running different businesses, I've had people come to me and say like, "Hey, can you talk to my cousin? Can you talk to my sister's boyfriend or something like that?" And I get on the call and they want to start their own business. And I kid you not, there's been several instances where I know it's a massive red flag when people say one of two things. First thing they either say is um it would be passive income. Like if the first thing you're talking about before you've ever started a business is making passive income, I'm just like, this business is never getting started. I hate to be so harsh about it, but Alex Hormozy said this, and it made me laugh. And I always think about whenever people talk about passive income. He was like, all the people who don't have a business or don't have clients and they're talking about passive income, it's like, why don't you start focusing on active income first, right? Like, why don't you get that situated before you start figuring out how to make money in your sleep? I'm sure this may, ruffle a few feathers. I don't even know if that really even exists to the extent in which people believe it does. So what I mean by that Sure. If you have some money and you put it into the stock market, and you have a financial manager who does it for you and it makes you some interest and you get an ROI for it, that's pretty passive. But, I think a lot of times people just think that, oh, I see this other dog trainer and he's got a course that's on his website and it just makes him money and it's passive and stuff like that. It's like, it's really not. It's like he's probably managing a store. He's probably managing people wanting refunds. He had to build the course in the first place. And so there's not many things in life that are truly passive. So that's the first thing. That's always a massive red flag whenever people want to start a business. The second thing is if they are just immediately talking about all the freedom that their business is going to give to them. And on this topic of like work-life balance, like I work hard at my job and I just want freedom. And I'm like, it's just, especially in the beginning, that's not going to be the thing that you're immediately going to get. It's going to require a lot of you. And so I know there's a lot of people listening to this, and you're more on the side of what we were talking about before of you're probably working a shit ton and you probably need to stop being such a tyrant on yourself and give yourself some space and a little bit of grace to actually have a life outside of your business and your clients. But there are people on the other side of this, and that they're talking about work-life balance is work-life balance. It's like there's probably some people that actually need to work more and have less of that life balance. You see what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, I see exactly what you mean. And this actually made me think of, maybe you've seen it.
Mhm.
I think it was like a meme or something like that. And it was like, I left my 9 to 5 office job to become a dog trainer and like have more freedom. And now I
Yeah.
actually work 24/7.
I think I saw that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is so funny because there's both things can exist at the same time. You need to work hard but at the same time not overwork yourself. And that is a really fine line to walk sometimes.
Yeah.
So just take some time and like reflect on this and think about like what is it that I need more of in my life right now. Here's a good barometer. If you're not getting the results that you want, it could be a work smarter, not harder thing. But from what I've seen with a lot of people, when I audit their calendar and their schedule and what they're doing, people who are not working with us and they might be interested in working with us, you know, I just see sometimes people that they think that they're working hard, but when we look at their schedule throughout the week, they really did like 3 or 4 hours of work. They maybe talked to somebody, sent a couple messages, did 1 or 2 private training lessons. And a good rule of thumb is like 40 hours a week in your business, minimum. That's
Mhm.
what's required at a job. If you're not willing to put that in, you're probably going to have a hard time in your business.
Yeah, absolutely. I've noticed with myself, if I'm not like really sticking to a schedule, I kind of get like, um, what is it called? Analysis paralysis,
Yep.
or some people might call like ADHD paralysis. Like
Yep.
you don't have like a list to follow. There's like a million things to do, maybe a
Yep.
million clients to get in touch with, or a million whatever to do, but you're
Slack
just
channel
like,
is absolutely popping off and you're
yeah,
just trying to keep up with it.
yeah, you're like, I don't know where to start. So you just like freeze and you don't end up doing anything. So
Yep.
that's why it's so important to, be disciplined and create a schedule for yourself. And it doesn't have to be like a, super like detailed, I'm going to do this until this time and this until this time, but at least like block things out and create boundaries even with yourself of like, this is when I need to get things done. I'm not going to, screw off and go take a nap for
Yes.
that time.
Yes, definitely do not go screw off and take a nap. Okay. So that's the number one thing you don't want to do in the middle of the day. All right. Well, listen, I think that's it for today. I think we covered a couple of different things here. End of the day, make sure to take care of yourselves and really audit your time and make sure that you're using your time efficiently. And don't just, Jordan Peterson said this about being an entrepreneur, and just about people in general in life. It's very easy to become a tyrant with yourself and just tell yourself like you need to be better, you need to work harder, and you can start treating yourself in a way that like is less than human and in a way that you would never treat another person. You'd be like, that person's an asshole. If you were the boss of yourself, which you are, and somebody and it just, you know, put that analogy on, you're the boss of somebody else and you were treating somebody that way, and that person were going to their friend and talking about how their boss were treating them, their friend would probably say, like, your boss is kind of a little bit of a psycho, you know?
Mhm.
And so be kind to yourself and really think about how you treat yourself and the expectations you have for yourself. Most of us, God willing, have another 30, 40 years of doing this. And so not everything needs to happen right now. And for the most part, there are instances where you need to work harder and you're going to have seasons of your life and you might need to take a call late at night if there's really an emergency or something like that. But for the most part, the things that seem so important and so urgent right now, you won't even be thinking about them 3 days from now. You definitely won't be thinking about them a month from now. And if somebody were to ask you about it a year from now, you wouldn't even be able to recall it if you tried. And so just keep that in mind, that it's just a day by day thing, like you said before, Angel, one day at a time. And just have some patience and some grace with yourself. So with that being said, we appreciate you guys listening to this. And if you guys get some value out of these, as always, hit the like button, share it with a friend. Again, if you guys are looking for marketing help, growth with your dog training business in general, just send me a message on Facebook or Instagram, and we can definitely get something lined up. So appreciate you guys, and we'll see you guys in the next one. See you guys.
Bye, guys.